We're still going to be talking about that World Cup final, the one that Spain won, but specifically about what happened after the final whistle. These horrible scenes where there were clashes between the Spanish players and Argentine players, but mainly Leandro Paredes throwing the likes of Gavi to the ground. Now, of course, he was sent off, but many have been saying he should be punished further. Well, Gavi was asked about it, and he said this: "No, to be honest, I don't think they should be suspended. I realize it doesn't set a good example for the children, but there's also that side to football that's a bit more violent." All right, Gavi, taking the high route there, Craig. You love that violent side of football.
Well, we actually didn't see this because we went down in New York. We went straight on air before the trophy lift, so we just saw the stories coming in, the little stills like that. We didn't see it happen because we got on straight away, basically after the final whistle. As for not punishing, this is after the final whistle, just before a trophy lift, when a team that's just won the World Cup, a country has just won the World Cup and a squad of players and staff are about to celebrate one of the biggest achievement you could have in our game. And you got these idiots. And I called him a thug on Sunday night, and Paredes was the biggest one of the lot. It was thuggery. It was thuggery on the field. You had Fernandez sent off. You had all sorts of shenanigans going on. You had an Argentinian side that embarrassed themselves the way they approached any game, never mind a World Cup final. And the whole world wanted, apart from Argentina, in the end wanted Spain to win. And then these scenes at the end, they have to be punishable. They have to be, and FIFA has to do something. But this is FIFA. This is the Wild West. This is the lawless Gianni Infantino. This is the disgrace of a man himself who allowed the Florian Balogun situation just throws integrity completely out the window. There was only one or two people who don't understand the game this side of the pond that thought that was the greatest decision in the history of soccer. The rest of the world knew what it was for what it was. It was basically shoehorning a player back in. So FIFA need to get some credibility back here by sanctioning this Argentina team. But FIFA and credibility rarely go in the same sentence.
Yeah, and as a former player yourself, do you understand what Gavi's saying, that, look, it's just parts of the game, or do you agree with pretty much, I think, everyone else around the world besides Argentina that something has to be done, because it wasn't just the scenes after the full-time whistle that really ticked off everyone?
Well, first of all, I think when you speak with a Spaniard smoking a cigar and having the most expensive champagne celebrating the World Cup, you could be as generous as you want. But we have to be principled here. I mean, that Paredes did that again, and you do it on a stage like the World Cup final is embarrassing. I think it's also embarrassing because of somehow that kind of downplay Messi's fantastic performance, fantastic World Cup, because when you have people like that around you, that doesn't come well. And I think it's also an embarrassment for Argentina. And Argentina have a fantastic football history. They have won the World Cup many times, and this is the thing that will happen after the and this is the legacy, so to say, in a World Cup final. And I'm with Craig. There is something, about the dignity that we learned when we started off football. We can do whatever we try, and to be fair, Argentina tried to do everything on the pitch, but at least when you finish, calm down. And there was nothing like, we saw this World Cup and we're saying, oh, did you see the unfair treatment of Argentina during these World Cups? I mean, no football fans in the world will see that. And we find ourselves with a country that have a Mario Kempes, Diego Maradona, Lionel Messi, and you sit there just hope for the sake of football that they will win this game. And remember, I'm old enough to remember the 1990 World Cup. Well, I'm old enough to remember the 74 World Cup, by the way. But in the 1990 World Cup, remember Maradona took their team to the final. And you were just dying for West Germany at that time to win that final because we didn't like the way they did it, and Maradona and Caniggia, maybe the two great players. But I think that is shame what happened there. And I don't know if in USA you have the same expression that we have in Europe in terms of FIFA, but sometimes you will say, is there anybody who will tell the king that he is naked? And it's I think it's H.C. Andersen, the great adventurers teller from Denmark, who said that, and I think that sums it up.
Sums it up indeed, Stevie.
Well, I think at the end of the day, Gavi's still 21, so he thinks he's still in a candy store, isn't he? He's just playing football, so he's not really interested in suspensions or anything like that. But when you get a little bit older, a bit more mature, and you understand it really matters how you behave. You know, showing class and dignity is something. It's something that everybody would love to be able to do. And my problem actually isn't entirely just with the players. In my opinion, Ayala should absolutely, number one, the Argentina FA should have sacked him. And if anybody should be getting a suspension or a fine or whatever it is, he should be getting the biggest one. Players sometimes can see the red mist and do something stupid. And we all understand that, because we've probably all done it once maybe.
Yeah.
But a coach on the sideline, running on, I mean, at least the manager was trying to calm things down. But you've got
he punched somebody.
Danny Olmo.
That's Danny Olmo in the throat. He got him in the throat.
Now, Scaloni, you're right. Scaloni was the one who, he was hugging De La Fuentes.
Yeah.
And he was the one showing.
Yeah.
And we spoke to Santi Solari about this, who was working with us, a former Real Madrid and Argentinian international. And he said Scaloni always carries himself with dignity. But unfortunately, he couldn't control, Stevie, some of these other people.
Scaloni 100% is probably the only person in this Argentina. Well, okay, Messi as well. I mean, Scaloni before the England game, I thought absolute class.
Yeah.
You know, they were talking about the Malvinas, or it's better known as the Falklands, and he was like, no, this is a game of football. And I thought, you know what, that's absolutely classy.
Yeah.
Then, of course, these players have blown that completely out of the water.
Darke, what do you make of all of this? Do you think Argentina should face bigger sanctions now, especially because, as Stevie pointed out, it wasn't just the players. When your members of staff get involved in the melee, it does not paint a pretty picture.
Well, they were absolutely graceless, weren't they? They crossed the line there. I had no problem with what Argentina were doing. They were in dramatic games up to the final, brilliant comebacks, great stories. And I don't think they crossed the line until the final itself. It was a loutish, thuggish stain on the game. And what happened afterwards was absolutely disgraceful. Not only the fighting that we saw, particularly involving Paredes, but also turning their back as Spain were collecting the World Cup trophy. That was abominable. So my view is that Paredes should be hit with a suspension of, let's say, a minimum of 5 matches. And several of the staff need to be facing banning orders as well, because FIFA, you know, Craig's itemised some of the things that have gone on earlier in the competition. They have to hit Argentina very, very hard. And I say that not because I'm anti-Argentina. They beat England fair and square. I admire their history and what they've done in the game and the great players they've produced. But that was way, way too much.
I mean, what complaints have Argentina got? I mean, if FIFA don't bring the hammer down on them, what's that saying about international football going forward? That's carte blanche to have a scrap after games. And then if FIFA punish a team, they'll say, well, you didn't punish Argentina at the World Cup and the biggest of games in the World Cup final. But what have these players got to complain about? They were hopeless in the final. The Spain players, they didn't turn up. They didn't want to play. And Ian's right. They didn't play great during the tournament, but some of the games were super exciting, particularly the last half hour of games where they were up against it against Cape Verde, strangely enough, but that was a game. They were down and out against Egypt, but yet somehow managed to come back with controversy in that game as well, with the Egyptian goal that was chopped off. The Switzerland game was just boring and dull, but they scrapped that one out. And then England, they were dead and buried till 85th minute. Well, England were sitting back for half an hour, but they were still out of the competition. And once again, they came back. But what have they got to complain about? They had a rub of the green probably more than anybody in the tournament up to that stage. There was so many conspiracy theories out there that Infantino, which I don't buy into, that Infantino wanted Messi to win the tournament again. That's how obvious some of the sort of decisions that went their way were. We had Messi, who raked his studs down the back of an Algerian player in match day 1, didn't even get a yellow card, never mind a red card. So they had lots of decisions fall their way. And what happened in the final was not any fault of an official, because Enzo Fernandez was absolutely stupid. He was on a yellow and he jumped in. He deserved to be sent off. And Argentina didn't play. It was nothing Spain did. It was Argentina did not play.
And what I don't like, if I may say, I mean, there is a lot of things going on the pitch, and I will say that it's down to the referee to take all this. There's some idiots on the pitch as well, but that is down to rules, and we have a referee who's going to manage that. But what I didn't like with Argentinians is that the way, which was a system throughout the knockout stages, this celebrating in the faces of the opposition. I think that is, I mean, that is so far away. I've done my stupid things on a football pitch, but that lack of respect for the opposition, and you somehow understand why Jude Bellingham after the game had a go at one of their players when you saw what happening. So I think there was a lot of things going on that they didn't go down with their grace. And by the final, by the way, I mean, can you imagine if that Otamendi free kick kind of thing when the goals were not given and Argentina ending up winning that? I mean, the conspiration, we will put a conspiration security team down now just to find out what was going on. So there's nothing to quarrel about. And I will respect any way of playing football. And some part of the game of Argentina is very good. I will add also Scaloni and Messi and Alvarez. Alvarez, I think, got a great attitude as well out on the pitch. I'll put him in there. And we've probably forgotten a couple of them. But now this is disgraceful.
Ian's right, though. Just briefly, Ian's right. We saw the scrapping. Well, we didn't, as I said, because we went straight on air. But there was scrapping after the game. There was coaches running on, punching players. It was disgusting. All that's disgusting. But as disgusting as Ian mentioned was not having the grace. And you've won the World Cup 4 years earlier against France in penalties, right? You know how tight it is. You know how much it means to countries. To not have the grace to applaud, to face up and applaud some of these Spanish players that were fantastic during the tournament and have just won the World Cup. There's some kids in that Spanish team, you know, there's teenagers.
Spain gave them a guard of honor.
Kubasi and Lamine Yamal. Nobody talks much about Kubasi. He's still a teenager, having won 2 titles at Barcelona, and he's now won a World Cup. To not have the grace with the experience in that Argentinian side, and it is a very experienced one, to turn around and acknowledge and applaud and turn your back on a World Cup trophy lift, I think just tells you everything you need to know about that particular squad of players.
You can't help thinking, though, that we've been talking about the culture of the Spanish team. Well, there's no question that the Argentinian coaching staff have absolutely created a culture amongst the Argentinian squad. And that is of everybody's against us. And when you have the makeup of the players they have, who, if you wind them up too much, they're going to end up doing silly things on the field, that's exactly what we got. And it wasn't just the final. Some of the challenges, and even Messi should have got the red card. So it's like a volcano going off at the full-time whistle. And then you get 4-6 weeks away, building up. I mean, we saw Scaloni after 90 minutes. And the camera's looking down the top and he's punching his hand and you can see him winding everybody up. I mean, the culture that they had is the culture they created, and the culture they created is what we saw at the end. And nobody wants anything to do with that.